Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 61 of Sequel Pitch, the podcast where usually four, sometimes it's only three of us, friends, review a movie that doesn't have a sequel and then have a bit of a competition pitching our ideas for one. I am your host today, Drew Toynbee, and joining me, I have the ever just crazily cynical and deeply hateful person, Ross Harmston.
Fuck you.
And the naive and lovable but still ultimately a bit weird cameraman, Andie Henry.
Bing!
And unfortunately, our beautiful long-haired producer, who looks like Andie McDowell, Matt Rushton, isn't joining us tonight. He is recovering from surgery, so do please join us in sending all of the very best wishes for a speedy recovery to our big, hairy northerner.
You should mention it's only knee surgery as well, nothing like life-threatening. It's just
it's not actually serious.
Yeah, he's had another knee put on top of one of his knees, so now he can bend his leg three ways. It's great.
The more he misses, the more he goes down the scoreboard.
Indeed. As a reminder, we are scoring this year of episodes, and so the winner of the episode today will get 3 pitch points. The runner-up will get 2 pitch points, and Matt, by default, does still get 1 pitch point, even though he's literally not even fucking
doesn't have
here.
to do anything, and he gets a point. Like,
so, actually, what this means, if anyone pulls ahead early in the year and builds up a huge lead, they can just fuck off from the podcast and be like, nah, screw you guys. I'm not coming back.
Fair.
Today's movie, as mentioned last week, and as is in the title of the episode, we've got to work out a better way to do this. We need some better patter for this. Is the 1993 American fantasy comedy Groundhog Day, directed by the late, great, and inimitable Harold Ramis, and starring Bill Murray, Andie McDowell, and Chris Elliott. What we are going to do, as always, is run through our 60-second synopsis, so that if you haven't seen the movie, somehow, for some reason, you've not seen Groundhog Day, you'll understand what happens. Then we're going to give our scores for the movies and our sort of top-line review for everyone listening at home, and then all of our lovely pitch pals on Patreon will be able to hear our full review. Once that's out of the way, we'll be getting straight into the pitches, and I will crown our winner. So, without further ado, I am going to hop in and get started on that synopsis. On the 1st of February, cynical and mean television weatherman Phil Connors goes with his producer Rita and cameraman Larry to Punxatawney to cover Groundhog Day. On the 2nd of February, Phil wakes up hearing Sonny and Cher's I Got You Babe on the clock radio. He gives a completely lackluster, terrible report on Punxatawney Phil, saying that winter's going to carry on. And then a blizzard strikes the town, and Phil and his friends are stuck there. The next morning, Phil wakes up to the same song, and everything is the same. It is the 2nd of February. He thinks it's weird deja vu, but then it happens again and again and again and again, and Phil realizes he's stuck in a fucking time loop. Phil goes through a range of emotions. He realizes there are no consequences to his actions, so does a lot of horrible things. He seduces loads of women, he robs banks, but he can't get Rita to sleep with him. He then gets depressed, really depressed. He commits suicide a bunch of times. Nothing works. He always comes back. But eventually, he starts doing good things for people and starts finding fulfillment and learning new skills and growing as a person. And eventually, he has a perfect day with Rita and says that he will be happy even if no one remembers, because he's happy now and he loves her. And then he wakes up and it's February 3rd and he's with Rita and everything's brilliant at the end.
Hey.
So there we have it. That is what happens in Groundhog Day. So now I need to get some scores for this movie and your thoughts on it, whether you liked it or not. So let us begin with Andie.
yes. All right. I love this movie. I think it's one of the rare, like near perfect movies.
Wow.
Yeah, I can't think of some things that maybe could be updated, but I'm going to give it 4.5. No, I'm going to go even higher. I'm going to go 4.75 flapjacks. That's right.
4.75 flapjacks out of 5. And he gives it 4.75. Christopher Harmston, how about you?
I thought it was good. It was good. but it wasn't as good as Andie is saying. I think that Bill Murray has quite a good performance in it. He has that dry comedy, that sort of Ghostbusters-esque thing to him, but
it's very Ghostbusters.
Yeah, but
it's Bill Murray. It's very Bill Murray. So yeah, it's
like basically Harold Ramis went, "Oh yeah, I want you to basically play the character you play in Ghostbusters." But for me, the one thing that I didn't like or just felt a bit weird watching it was the tonal shift from let's go get some food, and then literally now it's finding new ways to kill myself. Hey, just felt a bit weird for me, like in terms of that tonal shift. So for me, the performances are great. Bill Murray's great. However, the tonal shift in the script and the story, it threw me a bit. So I'm going to give it 3 gophers riding off the edge of a cliff. Is it gopher? It's a gopher,
Groundhog.
isn't it?
It's a groundhog.
It's a groundhog, man. It's in the title.
I suspect they are very closely linked. However, Andie is right. Yeah. It is literally the title of the movie, Ross.
Eh? Is it? Oh, shit.
I was trying to find beaver jokes earlier, and I was like, why does none of these work? And I was like, oh, yeah, because it's a fucking groundhog. That's probably why.
Oh, that can be on the highlight for this year. What is that? What are they called? Fucking hell.
Groundhogs. And for me, I'm more in Ross's camp than Andie's. There are some really funny moments. I think it's a really well constructed movie in how well it portrays the same day over and over again and his journey through the movie. But some of it, for me, it was the tonal shifts in smaller moments that didn't quite work. And not all of the comedy worked for me particularly. I think I only laughed out loud maybe twice watching this movie. And actually, his transformation at the end of the movie in The Perfect Day with Rita is what worked best for me. So I'm going to go between the two of you and say I'm going to give it a 4. I'm going to give it 4 wandering, balding insurance salesmen who there is an audience theory that they might be the devil out of 5.
Bing? The devil? What's this?
It's quite cool theory.
I personally don't agree with that, but we'll see. As Matt unfortunately couldn't give us a score for this, he is going in as the average of our 3 scores, which is coming in at 3.9166666667.
The devil. The bald guy,
out of 5.
It makes sense. It all makes sense.
God. Oh my God. Theory confirmed. Right. So there we have it. We are going to move on to pitching our sequels, unless, of course, you are one of our fabulous, lovely, wonderful pitch pals on patreon.com/sequel pitch. If you're one of those guys, here we go into the full review. If you're not, here's the pitches. Thanks for passing that over to me, a second ago.
Thanks, me.
Yes, through the fog of antidepressant side effects and cold viruses and generally existing in Andie's brain, I think it is time to get your sequels pitched. Okay, as always, the rules of the pitch section are, we keep saying it's simple and then we describe them for a decent chunk of time. Ross and Andie are going to pitch their sequels to me. They will give me their title, their little roundup, and then they're going to tell us what happens in the movie. If I have questions for them, I'll ask them. If I don't, I won't. Great. That was... Why?
Easy.
Why did I
simple.
even need to say that? And then, once they've both gone, I will set them loose on each other, and they will argue why I should pick their film and why I shouldn't pick the other film. So, without further ado, Andie went first in the review and the scores, so I'm going to say Ross.
Yeah. Hello. I'm
Hello.
Ross. And my title for the sequel is called Groundhog Day 2.
Wonderful.
Yep, big old good title there.
The big old 2. You're waiting for it in the cinema when the trailer comes up. It's Groundhog. What are you going to call it? What are you going to call it? 2. You're like, well, makes sense. Yep.
Okay, and what's your brief summary?
Phil and family are more disjointed now than ever, and it's fast approaching Groundhog Day. The constant loops brings them back together and teaches them the error of their ways.
Oh, okay. Ready when you are.
We open the movie with Phil. He's doing his last ever weather broadcast, because if it's anything like England, fuck knows when we can retire. He signs off saying something similar to the first one. There will be some sort of storm, but it will miss Punxatawney. Punxatawney. And of course, tomorrow is Groundhog Day. So he's doing the weather report for Punxatawney because he lives there now. And he's saying there's a storm. So Phil heads home to the Cherry Street Inn to a surprise party that Rita has set up for him. Although she has to run off to work as soon as he gets there. He's left with some of his old friends, like Ned. Maybe he could be there. Phil notices his son isn't there, and he heads upstairs to his room, and he's like listening to music and playing PlayStation, and he's played by Finn Wolfhard. Yeah. Phil tries to connect with him, but it ends in a fight, and Finn slams the door in his face. Ned is there to tell him that didn't go well, did it? Anyway, he says goodbye to his friends, and then sits in his kitchen eating a piece of cake alone. He heads to bed, and we see it's 3 a.m. and in comes Rita. He then tries to talk to her, but she says she's tired and wants to go to bed. Phil tries to get jiggy, but fails. The alarm goes off, and it's 6 a.m. and Rita gets up. Phil questions her, asking her why is she working today, and she remarks it's Groundhog Day and says she's got a new reporter that she has to do a report with. She kisses him on the forehead and then heads out. He goes down to have breakfast, and Finn literally says one word to him and heads out too. He gets dressed and heads out. We have some hilarious hijinks with Bill Murray. He's not the same as he was, but we get little hints of him still being miserable, especially now that he's even older. Everyone around him is also really proper miserable. So, like, it's kind of like that joke. He's still like, he's not miserable, but he's like, a little bit cantankerous, if that makes sense. And then everyone around him is just like all involved in themselves, don't really care. It's not about anything anymore. He sees Rita. She's doing a broadcast with the new reporter. It's this hot guy. It's fucking Pedro Pascal. Oh,
Yay!
Yeah.
Man of the moment.
Yeah. He's flirting with Rita. Phil comes over and he's pretty awkward. They have a kind of like a dick off, basically, much like the old Murray and that guy in the Ghostbusters. When he's like, this man has no dick, that kind of thing. Phil ends up ruining the shot, and Rita leaves angrily. Phil walks off and sees Finn in a nearby arcade and goes in, and they also have a verbal fight because he's supposed to be at school. The day ends with all of them slamming doors and going to bed in separate rooms. They wake up, and we follow Rita this time. She starts slowly thinking like it's deja vu. That is until Phil comes to her and says, it's happening again. So basically, there's going to be obviously a lot more into this. But like, it basically follows Rita, and it's obviously in a time loop. And she's thinking, what the hell's going on? And then you kind of get the same stuff that's happening. She goes to the reporter thing. And then Phil comes over and it's like, it's happening again. It's happening again. She dismisses it, and Phil ends up ruining the shot again. Phil walks to the arcade and sees Finn there, and he's like, no, not again. He starts slapping himself, but cannot wait. He goes in to speak to Finn. Finn recognizes something is weird, but just thinks it's like deja vu. Phil thinks that he's again alone in this constant loop. He ends the day and hopes that he wakes up tomorrow. but he doesn't. The next portion of the movie is basically all three of them realizing they're stuck in a loop and they cannot get out. They have a conversation with Phil, and Phil tells them that this happened to him before and that they have to figure out why. But Finn wants to explore what it's like. So Finn and Rita start doing kind of like the Phil stuff that he did in the first movie. Finn, maybe we get hilarious scenes, and because I said hilarious, they are.
It will be.
We get hilarious scenes like Rita having sex with Pedro Pascal. We get Finn beating up the school bully. And Finn is trying to control this. And the both of them. And he's like trying to keep them both in, like, from doing stupid things. He wants to get out of this loop. It gets to a point much like the first one where they can't escape. They become bored of it. It gets to a point where the family all have a heart-to-heart. And then becomes every day... hold on. I can't read what I wrote here. And then it becomes... then it becomes like after their heart-to-heart, they basically start having like family days where they're still looping, but they're doing everything together. Like they're going to the family arcade, or they're going to, a family trip or something, and we see a change, and it opens the family up. And Rita learns to spend more time with, the family, and Finn also learns to spend more time with the family and open up as well. And they all have a family meal together at the end, and then they tell each other they love one another, and they go to sleep, and they wake up to tomorrow. They wake and they all have breakfast together, and then maybe the song of whatever the fucking song plays in the first
You Got Me,
one.
Mate.
Yeah, it plays in the background, and then it's the end of the movie.
Okay, thank you. I don't think I have any questions for you on that one.
Okay, that means I'm going to win.
Andie, let's move on to you. So, Andie, what are your potential titles and your actual title?
I like how you already know that he's got potential titles.
Get him out of the way. Come on. Right. Groundhog Day 2. 6 more months of winter of discontent. Groundhog Day 2. Deja Vu. Groundhog Day 2. Here we go again. Groundhog Day 2. Deja Vu. Groundhog Day 2. This is the real one. The real one is Groundhog Day 2. One day can change your life. And my blurb is, Dave is stuck in the same day his whole life, but just one thing can change everything. Right, so we open in a boring office with people doing their boring job, until suddenly a wall explodes. The supervillain flies in and says he's looking for the chosen one, who is the key to his world domination. His finger moves around the room. Oh, yeah. His finger moves around the room and lands on the office manager, played by Anthony Starr, who you might know as Homelander if you don't know the name.
Nice.
Suddenly, a superhero flies in, but the audience doesn't see their face. They fight over the manager, and the superhero wins, and the manager and the crowd of people in the office pick up the superhero, like a hero basically, and carry him out, leaving one man alone in the room. This man then wakes up from his dream. He's Dave, and he's played by Aziz Ansari. He wakes up and he does his morning routine. He has breakfast while watching TV. We see there's a picture of him and like a girl on his like table, but it's slightly out of focus. He gets showered, gets dressed, takes the bus to work. He walks past like a group of friends who are chatting, but no one really like pays attention or chats to Dave. He then sits at his desk and starts working. We then see the manager from Dave's dream, Anthony Starr, actually come out of his office and shout at Dave, but Dave's too shy to fight back. And then on the way home, he goes into a shop and he sees a cashier, Alice, played by Emma Stone. It's clear Dave finds Alice attractive, but he's not brave enough to start a conversation. Outside, Dave sees graffiti on a wall saying, "What are you doing?" We see Dave's nightly routine, basically similar to the first, or the breakfast. He watches TV, makes dinner, reads, and goes to bed. After a few days of this, he goes into the shop again, but this time he makes a joke about something, or he makes a comment, and Alice kind of chuckles. Dave goes home, does his nightly routine, but when he's in bed, he smiles slightly, and then sleeps, and he dreams again about the superhero and villain. After the next morning's routine, Dave sees on TV that a fair is coming to town. Ooh! So he's walking to the shop that he normally does on like Saturdays, and he sees the graffiti again. What are you doing? Dave looks at the graffiti and decides to go to the fair instead. He gets tempted into a game, like a shooting game maybe, where he wins. Some people like crowd around him and clap and applaud him. Peter, played by Shade Crawford, who is the Deep in The Boys. That's all, you know. It's not a boys' reunion. That's all.
Yeah, have you been watching The Boys lately at all?
Maybe a little. He's played by, his character's called Peter, and he comes over and congratulates Dave and says, seeing he's alone, he invites Dave to get a drink with him and his friends. Dave kind of nervously accepts, and then he has a great night with Dave and his friends. Dave admits that he's always kind of wanted to start a podcast, but he's just too nervous in case no one listens. Peter and Dave like bond more, and at the end of that scene, Peter invites Dave to join their five-a-side league, and Dave joins. Act 2 is then Dave going to work, but there's a little difference we see in him like every time or every day. And then outside of work, he's trying new things, meeting new interesting people, and hearing their stories and their lives and kind of what's just basically happened to them. Dave isn't like a completely new person. He's not like in a lot of these kind of like, you know, finding yourself movies, the person ends completely different. He's not. He's the same person. He's just changed a little bit. He's more confident. He's just overall happier. He goes into the shop and he finally asks out Alice, who accepts. We learn that the woman in the picture at the beginning is Dave's sister Melissa, who he hasn't spoken to in 2 years. And then surprise, knock knock knock, that night Melissa, played by Mindy Kaling, makes a surprise appearance, and we learn that their adopted parents, Bill Murray and Andie McDowell, died in a car crash, and after that Dave was more closed off than he ever was kind of before their death. He wasn't a big extrovert before. He was kind of, you know, a little shy, but after their death he went a lot more recluse. And Dave basically kind of broke off the relationship with his sister because he couldn't look at his sister without kind of thinking about his parents. Dave goes on his date with Alice and he goes super well. And then later that night when Dave's dreaming, he dreams of the superhero and the villain. The superhero this time saves him, turns around, and we see the superhero is Bill Murray. He flies his son up to like the tall building and they sit on the edge and have a chat. Dave confesses that he's never felt like a main character and always feels like he's standing in the background of someone else's story. Phil, I should say, not Bill. Phil explains that every story and every main character is different, and you don't need to have a big, exciting life to have a big and exciting life, and you just can't be afraid to fail. The next day at work, Dave is getting bullied again by his manager, but Dave just tries to relate to him, doesn't embarrass him, doesn't humiliate him or anything like that, just tries to relate to him, but the manager remains a dick, basically, and just goes, Mwah! But Dave then sees Alice at the shop, asks her out again, but she says even though she had a great night, she just didn't feel there was a spark. Dave nearly falls apart, but then smiles and leaves. And we end the next morning seeing Dave getting up early, and there's a new picture of him and Melissa on his table, and his calendar is like half full of activities. Dave goes for a run, and we see the "What Are You Doing" graffiti being painted over. There's a voiceover of his first episode of his podcast, where he talks about kind of like season day and maybe how that's different to everyone. And if this podcast reached just one person, then it will be enough.
Okay.
Not the crazy Andie pitch you normally get, is it?
Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Thank you very much.
You are welcome.
I'm going to leave you to argue it out. So, just before we get into the argument section, we have Ross's pitch, where Bill Murray and Andie McDowell have a son played by Finn Wolfhard, and they all get stuck in a time loop and have to come back together to get out. And we have Andie's Groundhog Day 2 One Day Can Change Your Life, where Aziz Ansari is going through life and struggling, and we discover that Bill Murray was his adopted father. Very interesting. And on that note, I shall unleash the beasts and let you battle it out.
I'll stop, because Ross's is just the same movie. Let's be honest.
As opposed to yours, which is totally the weirdest movie.
Your family gets trapped. There's so many questions about yours. Like, why is just the big one?
Why
does
literally
and the
opens
sun?
and it's like yours.
Yeah, that's a dream. Yeah. Go on then.
Oh, it's good. So it's just a dream. So it didn't mean shit then. So that's what you're saying is it didn't mean shit.
What do you mean?
You just said it was a dream.
There's the whole superhero thing when I said he goes to sleep and dreams about a superhero fighting a villain. Yeah, and we don't see the superhero until the end when we learn it's his dad.
Yeah. But what about the beginning bit? So is that a dream? Where
That's a
he's
dream,
like,
yeah.
Okay, I see. Yeah, I mean, it's not really that good though, is it? To be honest,
it's pretty good. I just don't get why.
What do you mean why?
Why does it happen to Bill Murray again? If he always
it happen to his family.
So why does it happen to his family? If it happens to his family, why is he involved? Why don't they learn the lesson without him?
Because he's still disjointed, and he needs them to. They all need to be together. Because
but why is he disjointed? And like, what's wrong with Rita? Why does she need sure, the kid is a teenager. Why like teenagers don't spend a lot of time with
because
Rita's not that.
Rita's a producer of a fucking TV show. Like, she's invested in her career, and she wants to be.
Thing.
No, I know that's not a bad thing, but that can happen in marriages where people fall apart. Even though it's in the movie in the first one, and you think, oh, maybe they'll be together forever. They fucking might not, and that's what mine is. They're
because
slowly...
Rita actually cheats on film.
Yeah, because it's a hilarious.
That's not hilarious. It actually matters as well. Like Phil feels like day doesn't reset. He knows what's going to happen.
He literally kills himself in the first one.
Yeah, but that literally doesn't matter. Like, this does matter. She knows and he knows.
No,
sure, the guy she sleeps with doesn't remember, but they two definitely do.
No,
does she actually admit that? Does he know?
Maybe
or
does.
The end of the end
Maybe
credit scene is just her going, I cheated. And then credits. Leading on to Groundhog Day 3, the divorce.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then it will be the whole world is in Groundhog Day. Look, let's not move over your one, yeah? Just because you just put a little heartfelt message about Aziz being fucking, his dad dying in a car crash, which is fucking morbid. And then he's created a superhero out of in his dreams.
His parent, his dead parents. He's created
nothing
a superhero
happens in your movie. Nothing happens.
He finds himself. He meets new interesting people, and he goes on new interesting things.
He goes to work. He comes back. He goes to work again. He goes and tries to chat up a bird. Doesn't work. So he's like, oh, fucking go. And then at the end of the movie, his whole calendar's full of activities. We're never going to fucking see those activities, but
the whole act 2 is him doing the activities. Meeting new people, trying these. Some are good, some are bad. We can see that's hilarity in the ones he doesn't like, and some hilarity in the stuff he does like. It's all new. Mine is a completely actual new story.
Yes, but
moving on the character. Yours is the same, Ross. It's just the same. You may have you should have just written out the synopsis for the first one.
Hey, listen, listen. You want Bill Murray in your sequel? I've got him. You've got him like as a 80-year-old superhero who's just gonna walk around. Oh god!
I mean, he's not gonna be. I'm sure we'll get like a stunt double to do all the fighting.
I've got all the original characters. I bring in Ned as well. People love Ned. I can bring in whatever the cameraman's called. I can't remember his name. Bring him in. I'll bring the Groundhog as well. Maybe there'll be a bit of a...
Oh, they've adopted the Groundhog.
But the thing is, I didn't explain, like, because it's a pitch, not a script, I didn't explain all the stuff that they're going to do that pads out the movie. Like, Finn is going to go on a journey, i.e., realizing that he's, like, a bit of an awkward kid. He gets bullied at school. He'll overcome the bullies. He'll maybe, try and chat up a girl, and maybe it might work. And he'll become more confident. And then the key thing is the thing at the end where they all come together at a family meal, and then they all say they love each other. The end.
So
because yours is.
But what's
this guy's
Finn's
depressed.
goal? Is Finn's goal to beat up the bully or stand up to the bully or to get closer to the family? Because those two don't tie together. You can't beat up the bully and then go home.
But just like fucking Bill Murray did. He learned to play piano. That wasn't his goal, but he did it anyway, didn't he? Because he betted himself.
So the character's goal throughout the movie wasn't to play the piano, which is a hobby he kind of picked up. But what is Finn's like objective? Does he want to stand up to the bully, or does he want to get closer to his family? Does he even like his family?
Well, it loops all the time. So maybe there's one time where he doesn't stand up. Maybe there's one time where he joins the bullies. And what's Phil
doing? Why Rita and Finn are having
He's
basically
trying
the
to
same
control-
experience that Bill did in the first one. He's just going, oh no, oh no.
Yeah,
Oh.
basically. He's trying to stop them from doing the things that he did. So then he's
Yeah.
trying to like chase after them, and
That
then
sounds like
he's
a fun part for Bill Murray to play.
yeah. Well, he doesn't like any parts anymore anyway. So he'll love me as a director. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look,
Sure.
Drew, you should pick mine. No, go on, Andy. Why mine? Yours? What?
Oh, well, I was going to wrap up. I was going to say mine
Go on.
is
Go on.
the overall. Mine, right, so mine's, have you seen Master of None, Drew?
I have not.
Oh, well, this ain't going to help then. Anyone who's seen Master of None listening at home is going to have that vibe, all right? So, you can get that. This is Oscar bait, all right? People finding themselves are Oscar bait movie, and it's going to have a charming cast. It's got Aziz, Emma Stone, Mindy
And all the-
Kaling. They're all
people-
charming.
all the
It's gonna be fucking directed and written by a charming motherfucker. This guy, so it's gonna easily get a fucking Oscar.
Look, if you want to pick the
more relatable
boys
to people.
Amazon movie cast, fucking Andy's movie, then pick that. Yeah, but if you want the original cast back with again
Then just
on a
watch the first one.
Groundhog Day, then come to see me, Drew.
Okay. Okay. I mean, this is genuinely a really, really hard pull because so Andy, just correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
but yours doesn't actually have a time loop.
No, it's more the fact that how people. Yeah, because you don't have to explain it. But no. This is the whole.
That Ross had missed that because I was like,
Yeah,
hang on.
that's the whole point. Is like,
yeah.
a lot of people feel like that in Groundhog Day because they just do the same thing kind of every day. My whole point of my story is I literally just take that little bit of a left hand, put that foot out, try something new, and that didn't stop the monotony. I don't need a spell because we're in a.
It's not a spell. People are going to be like, "Oh, I wonder what the time loop is."
Again,
That's
wouldn't Phil in Ross's? Wouldn't Phil just be like, "For fuck's sake, again?" And I don't get to know why. It just happens again. Is it going to happen a third time?
Maybe.
So,
I'd be
anyway,
and then he doesn't do anything fun with it.
Anyway, the argument section is over, but I did think it was strange that Ross hadn't actually picked up on the fact that Andy's Groundhog Day sequel does not contain a time loop.
And
I
please say
think
time warp, just because I got the song stuck in my head every time.
okay,
That was on purpose, absolutely.
Doesn't have a time warp. I completely understand that was. So my point here is that I think, Andy, you've created that's such an interesting way to approach a Groundhog Day sequel, and saving the reveal that Bill Murray's his dad for the end does tie it together then, but one assumes that Bill Murray wouldn't be in any of the marketing because you'd want to preserve that reveal for the film. And so how do you market this as Groundhog Day 2 with none of the original or even if you show one of the 3 shots of Bill Murray's face without showing that he's in a superhero costume?
The whole point is it would be that would be a bit of the intrigue of why is this a Groundhog Day 2. We could have maybe a line or something, but it would give it away. The idea was basically, it's just the intrigue of why is this Groundhog Day 2? Or maybe we could just say in the trailer, like you can say in the trailer, our adopted parents, and you can have a photo of them. That's fine. I think you could do that. The idea is just like, to be honest, it's probably not a massive twist when he reveals himself to be the superhero in the film. You might get that.
All right.
You might get that after the conversation with him and Mindy. But in the trailer, we could just show like they were our adopted parents and they died. Oh, sad face.
Okay. All right. Even so, I'm really torn on yours, Andy, because I have a great deal of respect for the idea and the fact, like, there's a throwaway line in the original where he says, like, nothing I do matters, every day is the same, and one of the drunk guys goes, yeah, that sounds like my life. And it's really poignant. That moment of the film really got to me, and I felt like it was actually desperately sad, and it's a really interesting thing for you to explore. But the time loop is what defines Groundhog Day as a film. So moving on to Ross's
same movie again.
That is, yes, Ross's does have a lot of similarities to the original. The other thing that I would say is that from the last thing that I'll say about yours, Andy, before I move on to discussing Ross's quickly, is that yours, as an Oscar bait movie, as you referred to it yourself, it does not scream funny to me. I can't see the comedic potential in it. I'm not saying that it couldn't be made that way, but I can't see the comedic potential being drawn out as much as, like you yourself, Andy, said in Ross's. Wouldn't Phil just be like, "What again?" And I don't know I don't actually know how I got out the first time. And I think there could be comedy in that. But Ross's is derivative of the first. It just is. Finn Wolfhard being their kid when, like, Andie McDowell and Bill Murray are, like, Bill Murray's in his 80s and Andie McDowell is like, she was born in 58, so she's mid-60s. So that's, I suppose, her being like, it's pushing the upper limit of, hang on, 1958. Someone help me do maths. 50 years after it was 2008, 60. 64? So she's 65, and Finn Wolfhard is definitely playing a teenager. So she would have been like 50, which is, it's not impossible, but I don't know, the society we live in, I feel like that needs to be highlighted. And Bill Murray is old. Like, Bill Murray is an old man. He could feasibly be playing Finn Wolfhard's great-grandfather, and he's meant to be his dad. But Ross brings back Ned and brings back Bill Murray and Andie McDowell and gives them things to do, and Pedro Pascal is an inspired piece of casting, and I suspect between The Last of Us being on our screens currently and The Mandalorian returning, Pedro Pascal's going to be showing up in a fuckload of our pictures this year. And so I'm genuinely super duper torn, because as a thematic idea, I prefer Andie's, but as a sequel to Groundhog Day, I think that Ross's still has a lot of potential to be funny, and with some tweaks and things would be more what the general audience would want from a Groundhog Day sequel. And so that is why I'm so torn, because I'm going, okay, we're putting on that old hat from when we started the podcast of, it's like, okay, am I thinking about this of which one is my favourite, or am I thinking about this as I'm a studio producer and which one's going to be easier to market or will make more money, etc., etc., etc. I think I've got to stick with the rule that we kind of put in place, which is that we pick our favourite pitch, and which we decided to make allowances for people putting out absolutely batshit insane ideas and still having the potential to win, as Ross has benefited from in the past, and no doubt both of you will again in the future.
Yeah.
And one of you's going to benefit from it now, because Andy's pitch is batshit insane, but I'm giving it to Andie.
Hey! Wrong choice.
All right, choice. Watch Master of None. You would have got it if you watched Master of None.
I think I'm going to catch. I think the Twitter poll for this episode could get spicy potentially, but yeah, I feel confident in my reasoning there, but it could have gone either way, because Ross's would be the more sensible choice, 100%, and I can see the character dynamics of Phil being like, oh my god, not again, and Phil being like, come on guys, we've got to fix this, and the other two being like hedonistic and going, actually, you got out of this before, like, actually, this is a bit fucking great. and Phil's having a mental breakdown, and they're off having a whale of a time, like fucking going absolutely insane. I can see both of them working. I really, really can. This isn't like pity praise for you, Ross. Genuinely, I do think there's a lot more promise in the film you pitched than Andie would make it sound in the argument section, although that is the point. But yeah, I'm giving it to Andie.
Hey! Nice.
So, congratulations, Andie, the 3 pitch point winner of episode 61 of Sequel Bitch.
Points.
Ross, you still come away with 2 whole points, which is still good. Still good. 2 whole points.
Don't pity me.
Okay,
no, the pity point's coming now. Don't worry, it's the 1 point.
Yeah, the pity point for Matt getting his again, single lonely point for the second week in a row.
He got the same point, for not making a pitch that he did for getting a pitch.
Yeah. So, basically, even if you show up for the episode, if you're really not confident in your pitch, you may as well just sit in silence when it gets to the pitch.
Yeah.
But we all want to win because we want the prize at the end, and that is we're not going for the lowest effort. We're all obviously putting in the most effort we possibly can. That means current leaderboard, Matt and Ross are in joint third, I suppose, with 2 points apiece. I am in second with 3 points, and Andie rockets ahead to 5 points after his second place placing. That's not a good... His second place placing last in episode 60 and his win this week. So congratulations, Andie.
I'm going to tear my shirt off. No, I won't.
Could you ever so kindly tell the listeners what we're doing next?
Ooh, next is going to be... I'm excited for Ant-Man 3, Quantumanium, so I want you all to pitch Ant-Man 3. Don't pitch me Quantumanium.
Yeah.
Try and leave out as much as you can from what we already know. But so I'm looking for Ant-Man 3. Oh, yes.
Yeah, we need some ground rules.
Right, firstly, I want to know about rules in terms of if there's a fucking trailer.
Okay,
Drew's going to be like,
that loophole that I did. Amazing work. Our resident impressionist.
I know,
that
right?
loophole only worked because the trailer for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness was shown at the end of Spider-Man, so it was technically in a Marvel film, and that's why I included those things. No sequences from Ant-Man, from Quantumania, have appeared in any existing MCU things. So, Andie...
So basically, try not to... I'm not going to mark you down, because obviously because Kang and the Quantum Realm are massive parts of Ant-Man 3, and basically that's kind of, I think, all we really know. So, and them going back in. So, if you can, you're like, I'm not going to normally I would mark it down for if you were just going to use Kang as the big bad, even though he's already established as the big bad. So, yeah, you can use him, you can use someone else. If you go to the Quantum Realm, it's fine. Yeah, cool. Normally I'd just try to come up with as much new stuff as possible.
Well, yeah, and if we've got Kang and we're in the Quantum Realm, it's better be a fucking good story.
Yeah. To be honest, I mean, if I was pitching, I'd probably use those two anyway. So, yeah, it'd be fine.
I know nothing about the Ant-Man, like, wider rogues gallery or anything like that. So
neither do I, man. So you make up anything. Just come over with the best bad guy, and if you convince me, if you act,
okay,
I'll buy it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, man.
Okay, there we go. We are pitching our sequels to Ant-Man and the Wasp in celebration ahead of Quantumania coming out, and there will, hopefully, if 2 or more of us can make it to the cinema to see it, be a spoiler cast coming for it too.
Oh, I will. Even if it's just me, I'll do our spoiler cast by myself.
Yeah,
Be the best episode
I think
we
we
ever
need
had.
we need to embrace solo content for sequel pitch. But anyway, so that is it from us. The very quick wrap up. Once again, just a reminder: if you enjoy what we do here, you can leave us a nice review on your podcast app of choice, or indeed leave us a lovely comment on YouTube now. Although I don't know when I'll actually get round to uploading this one to YouTube, but there we go. If you really like what we do and you feel like helping us out and getting yourself a bit of extra content as well, head to patreon.com/sequel pitch. You can sign up. It's £2 a month. And like with the state of our economy, for everyone else in the world, that's pennies. It's pennies now. And you can just give us some money and then you'll get the full review of every movie that we do. And you'll be helping us out as well. You can find us on Twitter @SequelPitch. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook. We would love to hear from you. Keep an eye out for the poll that we'll put out so you can say whether Andie deserved his win or whether Ross should have had it and how much of a bastard I am for who I did or didn't choose. And with that, we will say goodbye. So it is goodbye from Admirable runner-up Ross Harmston.
Yeah, mate.
It is goodbye from this week's worthy winner, Andie Henry.
Goodbye! Yay!
And it is goodbye from me. May all of you have the most wonderful looping Groundhog days, and may all of your Ned Ryersons be friendly and not annoying.
Happy Groundhog Day! Bye!
Bye.